They've done it again. We have the newest release from the homies over at FerraMonster Knives, and it does not disappoint. Plus, I'm going to tell you how you can get this thing for 30% off. Stick around. What it do, Kripple Krew? EDC with DBD, disabled but deadly, and the Kripple Krew has known for quite a while that I'm a big fan of FerraMonster Knives. They were the very first premium knife company to work with the channel, and we have done a lot of giveaways with them, and they have sent out every single model to the channel for review. So big ups to FerraMonster. The knife that we are going to be looking at today, they also sent in for review. However, that isn't going to change anything that I'm going to say about the knife. As you guys know, I thought that this was one of the nicest crossbar lock knives I have ever handled in my life, but I couldn't recommend it because of stop pin placement. So I'm going to tell you the truth. This right here is the FerraMonster Ferox. This was their latest release, 8 inches of awesome with contoured the dark matter fat carbon and triple method of deployment, or double deployment, whatever you want to call it. I call it triple because you got thumb, reverse, and flipper tab. Phenomenal knife, but it's not the one we're here to look at today. So, FerraMonster knives always ship in their awesome 2-stage box. You always get a patch. You know what? We'll throw one of those out here right now. You always get a patch. You always get a card about it. You get the warranty information. You get a pouch with a cloth. Here is the specs for the knife we about to look at. Yes, we about to look at the Valken. You can pause that if you want. All right. Now, clean my mess up real quick. Do me a favor, folks. And stab that like button like you mean it. Make sure that you've /subscribe and that you've bashed that bell for notifications so that you don't miss anything, like all the latest upcoming releases and dope sales. This, folks, is the FerraMonster Valken. And I have a feeling that this is going to be a favorite model for a lot of folks. What we are looking at is an overall length of 7.95 inches. So yes, we are just under 8 inches. With a 3.46 inch M390 clip point blade with a flat grind and a beautiful dual satin finish. We have a close length of 4.49 inches with titanium frame lock, and in this case, Toxic Storm fat carbon. We will talk about the different options in a moment. You have titanium tip up as the gods intended. Nice milled pocket clip that goes in and out of the pocket very well. Milled tie back spacer. And yes, that might give you an idea that we are looking at kind of a chunky boy blade stock for the first time from FerraMonster. We have 160 thousandths blade stock thickness. And yes, folks, I like it. I like it a lot. Our frame lock is locked up at about 35%, which on that chunky blade stock is a lot of contact. As you can see, we are perfectly centered, as every FerraMonster I've ever received is. It is actuated with the gemmed flipper tab that sits right about midline with the pivot, like it should, and has a nice little hook up at the end to make it so easy to catch onto. And you can push button or a really easy light switch, and every time it breaks that detent, it flies out. It does have a nice stout detent. Reverse flick is money. Thumb flick is a little harder for me. You guys know I have this issue with frame locks, and I can do it, but I have to be really careful where I put my fingers on the lock bar, because it is not the tallest knife this way. And so it does make it a little difficult for me to do the thumb sometimes. It won't be an issue for some of you, but I like to point that out. We do have jimping on top of that blade and a slight poon action a little further up. Their HRC on this M390 is 59 to 61, right where you want to see it. And as you can see, like every other FerraMonster I have ever received, it comes with a fantastic sharp edge on it. Even with that thicker blade stock, it gets down very, very slicey. The edge, as always, looks nice and even on both sides. FerraMonster, where did I put my, here it is. Normally gives us a pretty good sharpening choil. Now this one, they do taper this plunge grind a little bit more than I would like to see. I would like to see this plunge grind terminate immediately, but with this sharpening choil, you are going to get several sharpenings on that M390, and because the stop pin lands behind the flipper tab, once you get past that, you can extend this sharpening choil on your own with a diamond file or Dremel or something, and just keep sharpening. M390 is a great steel for EDC because it is highly corrosion resistant and it holds an edge a good long time, longer than MagnaCut. It does strop very well, and it takes a very sharp and sticky edge if you want it to, but it can take a toothy edge if that's what you need. It also is semi-tough. It's not very high on toughness, but that 160 thousandths blade stock makes a big difference. We've got some really awesome swedging going out towards that tip to carry some of that thickness out to that pokey tip for us. Running on cage ceramic ball bearings. Ergos on this. Behind that flipper tab, which, I mean, there is no choil. You can barely do a trigger pull. Like, not barely. I can fit a trigger pull in here. If you've got chubby fingers, you're not going to get a trigger pull in there. But I can use it. However, this is where you're going to be 95% of the time, is right here. And with my extra large glove size hands, I still have plenty of room. If you had 2X or 3X hands, you're going to fit on this just fine. Plus, our thickness here is at 51/100, so just over half an inch. And you can feel that in hand. It makes up for the narrowness right here, which it does. You know, the angle of the handle fits well with the hand, and even though this is narrow here, that thickness of those titanium scales makes for a comfortable grip. As you can see, they are pretty thick titanium. They are well chamfered for comfort. I would like to point out that FerraMonster, every single model is full T8 titanium hardware. Every model, every screw is T8. Love to see that. They have been OEMing knives for other companies for over 25 years now, and in late 23, they created their line of FerraMonster knives. We'll use a couple of their first ones for size comparisons. Matter of fact, we'll use all three of the first. Here is the Urban Grip, which is coming in just slightly longer. How about the Aurora Rays? This was also part of that first launch of 3 models. Slightly longer than our the Valken here, but the Valken has better ergos. And then the one that's always been my favorite because of the amazing ergos, the Glideman, which is going to be about half an inch shorter. We'll compare one more, FerraMonster, their newest release. This is the Ferox. And the Ferox is going to be slightly longer because the Ferox is closer to the Urban Grip in length. All right, 2 more comparisons. You guys know I always bust out a PM2. So many people are familiar with the size of the paramilitary 2. And it's going to come in about a quarter of an inch or so longer than our Valken. And the other knife we will show is the TRM Neutron 2, which is about the same size as a Para 3 for comparison's sake. Going to be about half an inch shorter. That should give you a good idea of size comparisons. Now, I've only carried this for 2.5 days now. So, I don't have a full review on it yet, but my first impressions are this is going to be some people's favorite FerraMonster. The ergos, the action, the blade shape. I mean, that swedge looks beautiful. It really does look good on there. I think about the only thing that's going to hold some people back is the speed holes. I know some people don't like the look of it, but one thing I will say is they do add to the traction of this knife because of where your fingertips land. Now, we have the same darkened titanium available with Mars Valley carbon fiber. And then we have 2 options of plain tie available with Arctic Storm or Nebula carbon, or Nebula fat carbon. So, Toxic Storm, Mars Valley, Arctic Storm, or Nebula fat carbon available on the Valken. And all of these are coming in under $200 right now. Yes, because for the entire month of August, FerraMonster is doing 20% off every model, and code DBD still saves an extra 10%. So you're going to get 30% off for the month of August, meaning you can actually try out every single FerraMonster model for less than $200. That's the first time that knives like the Urban Grip have been available for less than $200. This is their flagship model, and it's always ran at almost $300. But right now, you can get every M390 and titanium model for less than $200, and you can get the CP models, the FerraMonster Spectrum CP and Glideman CP. This is one of my top knives of 2025 right here, and you can get those for like $85. Stupid deals right now after code DBD. Let me know, are you grabbing a new FerraMonster? What do you think of the Valken? I'm really digging this blade. I will carry it more and give you guys a full review. But until then, stay safe, stay frosty. Most importantly, folks, stay deadly.